Ravi sat in his office, high above the noisy city. Through the big glass windows, he could see cars moving like tiny toys. People called him a successful man. He owned a company, had many employees, and made more money than he could ever spend. Yet, when the workday ended, Ravi always went home alone. His apartment was silent, and he often asked himself why everything still felt empty. That morning, his assistant stepped into the office with a polite smile. "Sir, there's a charity event at the children's hospital today. They would like you to visit. It would mean a lot to them." Ravi almost said no. He preferred numbers and reports, not events with people. But then he remembered his late mother's words, "Never say no when someone asks for your time." He sighed and nodded. When Ravi reached the hospital, colorful paper flags hung in the hall. Music played from a small speaker, and children laughed as volunteers painted little stars and butterflies on their cheeks. Nurses moved from bed to bed, handing out balloons. Ravi walked slowly, unsure of what to do. He was used to business meetings where everyone spoke in careful voices. Here, the room was full of simple joy, and it felt strange to him. Then he saw her. A little girl sat in a wheelchair near the window. Her hair was tied in two neat braids, and her small hands rested quietly on her lap. Unlike the other children, she was not laughing or playing. She was staring at the floor as if she wanted to be anywhere else. Ravi stepped closer. "Hello," he said gently. The girl looked up. Her eyes were big and bright, but there was sadness inside them. "Hi," she said softly. "What's your name?" Ravi asked, crouching down to her level. "Meena," she replied. "That's a beautiful name," Ravi said with a small smile. "I'm Ravi." Meena studied him carefully. "Are you famous?" Ravi laughed softly. "No, I just work in an office." There was silence for a moment. Then Meena said something that surprised him. "Can you teach me to dance?" Ravi blinked. "Dance?" "Yes," Meena said seriously. "I have never danced before. Everyone says I can't because of this." She touched the armrest of her wheelchair. "But I don't believe them." Ravi hesitated. He had no idea how to dance himself. His life was full of numbers, meetings, and decisions, not music and movement. But something in her voice touched his heart. "I don't know how to dance either," he admitted honestly. Meena tilted her head. "Then we can learn together," she said with a shy smile. Ravi felt something strange, a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. "All right," he said finally. "If you're brave enough to try, I'll try too." For the first time that day, Meena's face lit up. Her smile was so bright that it made Ravi forget about work, money, and everything else. Later, as Ravi left the hospital, he kept thinking about her words. He was a man who solved problems every day. He built companies, signed deals, and made plans. Yet, this simple request from a little girl felt bigger than all of it. That night, he stood in his empty apartment and searched for music on his phone. He imagined himself dancing. He felt foolish, but he also felt alive. The next day at work, Ravi couldn't focus. His assistant noticed his distracted mood. "Is everything all right, sir?" she asked. Ravi nodded quickly. "Yes, just thinking about something important." "Important?" He smiled to himself. Teaching a little girl to dance was not part of his schedule. But somehow, it felt more meaningful than any business deal he had ever signed. He decided to return to the hospital the next week. He had no gift to bring, no flowers, no toys. Just himself. And maybe, a little courage. When Ravi arrived again, Meena was waiting near the garden. "I thought you forgot," she said, pretending to be upset. "I promised, didn't I?" Ravi replied. "But there's one problem. I really can't dance." "That's okay," Meena said. We can just try. So they found a quiet corner of the garden. Ravi played a soft song on his phone. He waved his arms awkwardly, making funny faces until Meena laughed so hard that passing nurses turned to watch. Then he gently spun her wheelchair in a slow circle while she lifted her arms like a ballerina. "This is dancing?" Ravi asked with a grin. "It is if we say it is," Meena answered. In that moment, Ravi forgot about everything else: meetings, reports, empty rooms. For the first time in many years, he felt a simple joy that money could never buy. Every week, Ravi visited the hospital garden. And every week, Meena waited for him with her braids tied neatly and her eyes shining with excitement. Their dance lessons became the best part of both their lives. Ravi would bring his phone, choose a soft tune, and together they would invent silly moves. Meena called it "We'll Dance," where Ravi would slowly push her wheelchair in circles while she moved her arms like petals of a flower. Sometimes they both laughed so hard that nurses stopped to watch. Even the doctors smiled when they passed by. One afternoon, as they practiced near a big tree, Meena asked, "Why do you come here, Ravi? Don't you have office work?" Ravi looked at her small, serious face. "This is more important," he said. "But you are a big boss," Meena said thoughtfully. "People must need you." "Maybe," Ravi replied. "But I think I needed this more than they need me." Meena tilted her head. "Are you lonely?" The question made Ravi pause. He wanted to say no, but something stopped him. "Maybe," he admitted softly. Meena smiled. "Then I'm glad we're friends." Those words warmed Ravi's heart. No one had called him a friend in a long time. In his world of business, people were partners or clients, not friends. But Meena said it with such simple honesty that it touched something deep inside him. As the weeks passed, Meena's arms grew stronger. Nurses noticed that she laughed more, ate better, and even slept better. Her mother, who often sat quietly nearby, began to smile again as well. One day, Ravi brought a small music box. When he turned the key, it played a sweet tune. Meena clapped her hands. "It's so pretty," she said. Ravi knelt beside her. "This is your music now. You can play it whenever you want." "Thank you," Meena whispered. She held the box close as if it were treasure. Ravi felt a strange pride. He had given expensive gifts to many people in his life, but no one had ever looked this happy. One rainy afternoon, Ravi arrived and found Meena's room dark. The curtains were drawn, and she was not smiling. "What's wrong?" Ravi asked softly. Meena's mother looked worried. "The doctor told us today that Meena may never walk again. She's very upset." Ravi's heart sank. He walked to the bed and crouched beside Meena. "Hey," he said gently. "No practice today." Meena turned her face away. "What's the point? I can't dance if I can't walk." Everyone was right. Ravi took a deep breath. "Who says you can't dance? Dancing isn't only about legs. It's about music, about heart. You already dance better than me." Meena shook her head. "You're just being nice." Ravi thought for a moment. "Do you know what I do every day at work?" "Make money." Meena guessed. Ravi smiled faintly. "Sort of. But really, I solve problems. When something is hard, I don't stop." "And you?" He touched her hand gently. "You are the bravest partner I've ever had." Meena looked at him with wet eyes. "Promise you won't stop coming." "I promise," Ravi said firmly. The next day, Ravi left the office early and returned to the hospital garden. Meena was there again, her mood a little better. He pushed her wheelchair gently across the path while humming a tune. "Ravi," she asked suddenly, "why do grown-ups forget to be happy?" Ravi was silent for a moment. "Maybe they get busy chasing things that don't matter," he said. Like me. I work so hard, but I forgot how to smile. Meena looked up at him. But you smile now. Yes, Ravi said softly. Because of you. Soon, other children at the hospital began to notice their lessons. Some joined in, moving their arms to the music while sitting on benches or beds. Nurses clapped along, and even doctors stopped for a moment to watch. Looks like you're starting a dance club, one nurse teased. Meena laughed proudly. Ravi is my teacher. Ravi chuckled. I think you're the real teacher here, he said, bowing slightly to her. Her smile was brighter than the sun. That evening, Ravi sat alone in his apartment, thinking about Meena. Her courage amazed him. She didn't want pity. She wanted to try, to live, to dance even if her legs would not move. He realized that every time he visited her, he also learned something no business school had ever taught him. He learned that happiness didn't come from winning deals or owning buildings. It came from small moments, from helping someone smile, from keeping a promise. As he turned off the lights and lay in bed, Ravi made another silent promise: no matter how busy I get, I will never stop coming. Meena will not face this alone. Weeks passed, and Meena's dance lessons with Ravi had become the brightest part of her week. Every time he arrived at the hospital, she would greet him with a grin that could light up the room. Her arms moved with more strength, and her laughter echoed through the garden as they twirled and swayed to soft music. Ravi had also changed. The lonely man who spent most of his evenings in a quiet apartment now looked forward to his visits. He carried no briefcases or reports, only music and a willingness to learn. The city outside could wait, inside the garden, every moment felt more meaningful than any business deal. One rainy afternoon, Ravi arrived with a new song in mind, a melody that Meena had requested days ago. But when he reached her room, he found it unusually quiet. The cheerful energy that always welcomed him was missing. The curtains were drawn, and Meena sat silently in her wheelchair, her hands folded on her lap. Meena? Ravi asked softly, kneeling beside her. She looked up, but her eyes held a heaviness he hadn't seen before. I don't want to dance today, she said quietly. Ravi frowned. Why not? Her mother, standing nearby, explained gently, the doctor told us that Meena's legs might never be strong enough to walk again. She's scared and upset. Ravi's heart ached. He had seen children disappointed before, but something about Meena's quiet sadness felt different. She had fought so hard to stay hopeful, and now the words of a doctor weighed heavily on her small shoulders. He reached out and took her hand. Meena, he said, dancing is not just about walking or running. It's about moving, feeling music, and sharing joy. You've been dancing with your heart for weeks. Do you remember? Meena shook her head slowly, tears forming in her eyes. But I can't move like the others. I'm stuck in this chair. She touched the wheelchair's armrest with a small, trembling hand. Ravi's voice was calm but firm. Being in a chair doesn't stop you from dancing. It just makes it different. You've already taught me how to see that. For a moment, silence filled the room. The sound of rain tapping against the window echoed softly. Meena's eyes began to glisten, and she looked at Ravi as if searching for the courage he had promised. I don't know if I can, she whispered. Ravi smiled gently. Then we will do it together. Step by step, arm by arm. You're never alone in this. The next day, Ravi returned with determination. He brought soft music and a small, colorful scarf. He tied one end to the wheelchair and held the other, creating a little ribbon dance between them. See, he said as he moved the scarf gently, even without walking, we can make beautiful patterns in the air. Meena's eyes sparkled as she reached out, guiding the scarf with her small hands. It's beautiful, she whispered, a hint of her old excitement returning. Ravi nodded. Dancing is not about steps or speed. It's about sharing the moment, your joy, and your courage. That afternoon, they practiced together in the garden. Ravi pushed her wheelchair slowly, and Meena waved her arms in rhythm to the music. Sometimes they laughed at their own clumsy moves, and sometimes they were quiet, simply feeling the music together. For Ravi, these moments were more than lessons, they were reminders of what truly mattered. In his office, numbers and meetings had once ruled his life. Now, the small hands of a little girl teaching him patience, hope, and joy felt like the most important work he had ever done. As days passed, Meena began to regain her confidence. Her mother watched from a distance, tears of relief in her eyes. "Ravi, you've done something wonderful," she said quietly one evening. Ravi shook his head. "No. Meena did this. I just helped her see what she already had inside her." Meena, sensing the serious tone, smiled shyly. "We did it together," she said softly. Ravi's chest warmed. That was exactly right, they were partners in a dance of courage, hope, and laughter. One afternoon, Ravi brought a small notebook and colored pencils. "Let's make a dance map," he said. "We can draw all our moves so we don't forget." Meena's eyes lit up. "Can I make up new moves too?" "Of course," Ravi said. "Every move you create is part of our dance." They spent hours in the garden, drawing arrows, circles, and stars, each symbol representing a twirl, a spin, or a lift of the arms. It became more than a notebook, it was a record of their friendship, their struggle, and their shared victories. Even when the rain came, they sat by the window, moving their hands to imaginary music, laughing at the silly patterns they created. The world outside could be gray and stormy, but inside, they had their music, their friendship, and their dance. That evening, Ravi sat alone in his apartment, thinking about the day. Meena's courage had touched him deeply. She had shown him how to find light even in the darkest moments. He realized that life was not about avoiding sadness or struggle, it was about facing it, together, with hope. And he promised himself silently that he would never leave Meena alone. She had taught him something that no boardroom, no deal, no title could ever teach: true happiness comes from helping someone else believe in themselves. And for Ravi, that lesson was just the beginning. The hospital garden had become a place of magic for Meena and Ravi. Every week, they found a quiet corner and created their will dances, moving together to soft music and laughing at their mistakes. Each session strengthened Meena's arms and spirits, and Ravi's heart grew lighter with every smile she shared. One morning, Ravi arrived with a small box. "I have a surprise for you," he said. Meena's eyes sparkled. "What is it?" He opened the box to reveal a tiny, colorful music player with headphones. "We can play your favorite songs anywhere," he said. "Even in your room when it rains." Meena held the player close and whispered, "Thank you, Ravi. You always make me happy." Ravi smiled softly. "You make me happy too, Meena." They began their usual practice, twirling and swaying in rhythm to the music. Ravi pushed the wheelchair carefully, while Meena waved her arms and lifted her hands like a tiny conductor guiding an orchestra. She laughed when Ravi pretended to trip over his own feet, and he laughed when she spun too fast and almost tipped in her chair. One afternoon, as they practiced, a nurse approached cautiously. "Meena, there is going to be a small talent show in the hospital next week. Would you like to perform?" Meena blinked. "Perform? But I can't dance like the others." Ravi knelt beside her. "Who says you have to be like the others? This show is about showing your joy and courage, not about comparing yourself to anyone else." Meena looked at him thoughtfully. "Do you think I can do it?" "I know you can," Ravi said with certainty. "We practiced enough. We'll make it our own dance, just you, me, and the music." A few days later, they began preparing for the performance. Ravi helped Meena choose a song, a gentle melody with a rhythm that matched her small, graceful movements. They practiced every day, creating spins and hand gestures that told a story. Meena loved to imagine herself as a butterfly flying through the garden, and Ravi encouraged her every step of the way. On the day of the show, the hospital hall was filled with families, nurses, and staff. Children performed songs, recited poems, and even painted as part of the event. Meena sat quietly in the audience, her hands trembling slightly. "Are you nervous?" Ravi asked, kneeling beside her. "A little," she admitted. "That's okay," Ravi said. "Remember, we're not doing this for anyone else. We're doing this for ourselves. Let's just have fun." When it was their turn, Ravi pushed Meena to the small stage. A soft light illuminated them, and the music began. At first, Meena hesitated. Her hands moved slowly, and her gaze flickered toward the audience. But Ravi held her hand, encouraging her silently. Then, as the music flowed, she remembered all their lessons, the twirls, the spins, the imaginary ribbons in the air. Slowly, her arms moved in perfect rhythm with the song. She swayed in her wheelchair, her face glowing with joy and determination. Ravi moved beside her, matching her every motion. He made gentle gestures, spinning her slightly, waving his hands like the wind blowing through the garden. The audience watched quietly, mesmerized by the beauty of their dance. By the middle of the song, Meena's confidence had grown. She lifted her hands higher, smiled wider, and even added a little spin she had invented herself. Ravi clapped along, encouraging her with soft words and laughter. The small stage, the music, the audience, it all faded away. For that moment, it was just Ravi, Meena, and their dance. When the song ended, the hall erupted in applause. Meena's eyes shone with tears, but she laughed through them. "We did it," she exclaimed. "Yes, we did," Ravi said, his own eyes glistening. "I told you you could do it." The nurse approached and whispered, "You two were wonderful. You've inspired everyone here." Meena beamed. "We inspired each other," she said proudly. After the performance, as the children and families mingled, Ravi and Meena found a quiet corner. She looked up at him with a small, thoughtful smile. "Do you think I can keep dancing, even when it's hard?" Ravi nodded firmly. "I know you can. Dancing isn't just about moving your legs, it's about moving your heart. And your heart is very strong." Meena leaned back in her wheelchair, exhausted but happy. "I like this kind of dancing," she said softly. "The kind where you don't have to worry about what anyone else thinks." Ravi laughed softly. "That's the best kind of dancing there is." That night, as Ravi returned to his apartment, he thought about Meena and their journey. He realized that the little girl in the wheelchair had changed him more than he could ever imagine. He had learned patience, joy, and hope. He had learned to see the world through the eyes of someone who refused to give up, no matter the obstacles. He smiled to himself and whispered, "Thank you, Meena. You've taught me more than any office ever could." And somewhere, far above the city, in the quiet of the night, he felt a warmth in his heart that he had never felt before. For the first time in years, he understood that success was not about money or titles, it was about moments like this, shared with someone who truly mattered. After their small performance in the hospital hall, Meena and Ravi felt closer than ever. Every week, they continued their dance lessons, experimenting with new moves and songs. Meena's confidence had grown, and Ravi's loneliness had begun to fade. The world outside still buzzed with its usual noise, but in the hospital garden, time felt different, gentle, patient, and full of joy. One afternoon, Ravi arrived carrying a small notebook. "I thought we could plan something special," he said. Meena's eyes sparkled. "Special? What is it?" Ravi smiled. "A performance for the city's annual children's event. It's a bigger stage than the hospital hall, and more people will watch. But we can do it together. Mina's smile faltered. A bigger stage? What if I make a mistake? What if people laugh? Ravi shook his head. No one will laugh. Everyone will be cheering for us. And even if something goes wrong, it doesn't matter. We will keep dancing because we have each other. Mina thought for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, let's try. For the next few weeks, they practiced every afternoon. The hospital garden became their rehearsal space. Ravi guided Mina through new moves, helping her invent spins and arm gestures that worked with her wheelchair. They laughed when moves didn't go as planned, and celebrated small victories when they succeeded. But not everything was easy. One day, Mina's arms felt tired, and her hands ached from holding the ribbons they had tied to the wheelchair. I can't do it today, she said quietly. Ravi knelt beside her. It's okay to rest. Strength comes little by little. You've already done more than most children could imagine. Mina looked at him with a small smile. You always make me feel brave. Ravi's chest warmed. He realized that courage was not just about Mina, it was about them learning together. Each step they took was a lesson for both of them. The day of the city event arrived. Ravi helped Mina into her wheelchair and pushed her onto the stage. The bright lights made her blink, and the murmur of the crowd made her heart race. Ravi noticed her hesitation and whispered, just remember our garden. Remember the music, our ribbon, and our spins. That's all that matters. Mina nodded. The music began, a soft melody that they had practiced countless times. At first, her hands trembled. She felt the weight of all the eyes watching. But then she thought of Ravi's words, and the garden where they had laughed and spun together. Slowly, her arms lifted, and she began to move with confidence. Ravi pushed her gently, keeping perfect rhythm with her motions. He matched her every gesture, and together they created a beautiful, flowing dance. The crowd watched silently at first, then began to clap softly, encouraged by the grace and courage of the little girl. Mina's eyes shone with determination. She added a spin she had never tried before, her scarf waving like a bright rainbow in the air. Ravi's face mirrored her joy. They moved together as if the music had become a part of them, telling a story of friendship, hope, and courage. By the end of the performance, the hall erupted into applause. People cheered and clapped, and some even gave standing ovations. Mina laughed, tears running down her cheeks, and looked at Ravi. We did it, she said, her voice full of pride. Yes, we did, Ravi replied, smiling widely. The city event staff came forward, praising their performance. You were wonderful, one of them said. You've inspired everyone here today. Mina turned to Ravi. We inspired each other, she said softly. Ravi's chest swelled with emotion. Exactly. And that's the most important thing. After the event, as they returned to the hospital garden, Mina was quiet for a moment. Ravi, do you think I can keep dancing even if my legs never work properly? She asked. Ravi held her hands gently. Of course. Dancing is not about walking or running. It's about heart, courage, and joy. And you have all of that. Mina leaned back in her wheelchair, exhausted but happy. I like dancing this way, she whispered. The kind where we make our own rules and just have fun. Ravi nodded. That's the best kind of dancing there is. That night, Ravi returned to his apartment, thinking about Mina and their journey. He realized how much the little girl had changed him. She had taught him patience, hope, and joy, things no office, no title, and no money could give. He smiled quietly to himself. For the first time, he understood that success was not measured by buildings, cars, or deals. It was measured by moments like this, shared with someone who truly mattered. Ravi picked up his phone and made a small note, never forget the garden, the music, and the courage of a little girl named Meena. He knew that the journey was far from over. Life would still bring challenges, but he had learned a lesson that would stay with him forever: courage grows stronger when shared, and joy multiplies when you help someone believe in themselves. And as he turned off the lights, Ravi whispered into the quiet apartment, "Thank you, Meena, for showing me what really matters." The weeks after the city event passed quickly. Meena and Ravi continued their dance lessons, but now their sessions carried a new energy. Confidence had grown in both of them. Meena's laughter was louder, her movements smoother, and Ravi found joy in every little gesture she made. The hospital garden had become their world, a place where worries faded and only music and friendship remained. One morning, Ravi arrived carrying a small surprise. "I brought something new for us," he said with a mysterious smile. Meena's eyes widened with curiosity. "What is it?" He opened a small box and revealed a colorful ribbon tied to a wooden stick. "It's for a ribbon dance. We can make patterns in the air while we move. It will be fun." Meena clapped her hands with excitement. "Can I try it first?" Ravi nodded. "Of course. Show me your magic." As she held the ribbon, Meena moved it slowly, then faster, creating waves and circles in the air. Ravi watched her carefully, matching her rhythm by gently moving her wheelchair and adding small gestures of his own. Together, they made the ribbon dance like a living thing. "It's beautiful," Ravi said, smiling. Meena beamed. "We did it together." After practicing for some time, Meena leaned back in her wheelchair, breathing a little heavily. Ravi noticed her hesitation and asked, "Are you tired?" "A little," Meena admitted. "But I don't want to stop." Ravi placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "It's okay to rest. Even dancers need a break. Strength grows with patience, not force." Meena nodded slowly, her small face thoughtful. "Ravi, do you think I can dance in front of more people someday? Bigger than the city event?" Ravi looked into her hopeful eyes. "Absolutely. And I'll be right there with you, every step of the way." Her smile returned, brighter than before. "Then I'll keep trying." Later that week, a volunteer approached Ravi in the garden. "Sir, the hospital wants to make a short video about children's courage. They asked if Meena would like to be part of it." Ravi hesitated. He knew the spotlight could make Meena nervous. But when he looked at her small face lighting up at the idea, he realized this was another chance for her to shine. "Meena," he said carefully, "would you like to try something new? The hospital wants to record your dance." Meena's eyes widened. "Record? Really?" "Yes," Ravi said. "We'll do it together. No pressure, only fun." For the next few days, they rehearsed the same routine they had perfected in the garden, adding little twists and spins with the ribbon. Meena's excitement grew, but so did a small anxiety. On the day of filming, she clutched her ribbon tightly, her face serious. "Ravi, what if I make a mistake?" she whispered. Ravi knelt beside her. "Mistakes are part of learning. And remember, dancing is not about perfection. It's about heart and courage. You have both." She looked at him and nodded slowly. "Okay. I'll try." The cameras rolled, and Meena began her ribbon dance. At first, her arms moved carefully, but as the familiar rhythm took over, she relaxed. The ribbon twirled through the air like a rainbow, following her motions perfectly. Ravi guided her wheelchair gently, adding soft gestures to match her movements. The volunteers watched silently, captivated by the little girl's determination and grace. Meena's face shone with joy, her eyes sparkling as she moved. She had learned to trust not only herself but also Ravi, who had been by her side through every spin and twirl. When the final note of the music played, Meena held her ribbon high and smiled. The room erupted in soft applause. Meena looked at Ravi, her eyes wide with happiness. "We did it," she said softly. "Yes," Ravi replied, smiling. "We did it together." After filming, Ravi and Meena returned to the garden to celebrate. She twirled her ribbon in the sunlight, laughing as it caught the breeze. Ravi clapped and laughed with her, feeling a warmth in his heart he had never known before. "You know," Ravi said quietly, "I've spent many years working and worrying. But nothing has ever made me feel as happy as these moments with you." Meena stopped for a moment, looking at him with bright eyes. "Ravi, you make me feel brave. I don't think I could do all this without you." Ravi's chest tightened. He had always thought he was the one teaching her courage, but now he realized she had taught him even more how to be patient, to see joy in small moments, and to care deeply about someone other than himself. That evening, Ravi returned to his apartment, carrying a quiet happiness with him. He thought about Meena's journey, how far she had come, and how much they had both grown together. He realized that life's challenges, no matter how big, could be faced with hope and support. He sat by his window, looking at the city lights, and whispered to himself, "Thank you, Meena, for teaching me to dance with my heart." And somewhere, he knew, the little girl in the wheelchair was twirling in the garden, ribbon in hand, fearless and full of life. The hospital garden was quiet that morning. The sun poured golden light over the flowers, making the air feel warm and soft. Meena sat in her wheelchair near the center of the garden, her ribbon ready in her small hands. Ravi arrived with his usual gentle smile, carrying a new song they had never tried before. "Good morning, Meena," he said softly. "Ready for a new dance?" Meena's eyes sparkled. "Yes. But, will I be able to do it?" Ravi knelt beside her. "Of course. We've done so much already. This will be another adventure, together." Meena took a deep breath, gripping her ribbon tightly. Ravi pushed her wheelchair gently, and the soft notes of the music began. At first, Meena moved slowly, careful not to make mistakes. But as the melody continued, she remembered every lesson she had learned: courage, patience, joy, and trust. Her arms waved gracefully, the ribbon flowing like a colorful wave in the air. Ravi mirrored her movements, guiding her wheelchair and adding his own gentle gestures. For the first time in a long while, Meena felt completely free. She imagined herself flying, the ribbon trailing behind like wings. Ravi smiled as he watched her confidence grow. "Look at you," he whispered. "You're amazing." Meena laughed, a sound so pure that it seemed to brighten the garden itself. "We're amazing," she corrected. "We're doing it together." Ravi's heart lifted. He realized that she was right. Their journey had never been about just Meena or just him. It had been about friendship, trust, and the courage to try, even when the outcome was uncertain. After the dance ended, they stopped in the center of the garden. Meena held her ribbon high, breathing heavily but smiling wide. "We did it," she said, her eyes shining. "Yes," Ravi said, taking her hand gently. "We really did it." Her mother, who had quietly watched from nearby, approached. "Meena, I am so proud of you. And Ravi, thank you for being by her side." Ravi shook his head softly. "No, it's Meena who taught me. She has shown me what courage really means." Meena's face lit up. "I taught you?" she asked, surprised. Ravi smiled. "Yes. You taught me to see joy in simple moments, to trust someone else, and to believe in the impossible." Meena's small hand squeezed his. "And you taught me to dance," she whispered. Days later, the hospital organized a small celebration for all the children who had participated in events and activities. Meena was asked to perform again. But this time, she wasn't nervous. She had learned that dancing was not about perfection or approval, it was about heart and happiness. Ravi helped her onto the stage, and the familiar music began. She moved with grace, the ribbon trailing behind like a ribbon of sunlight. Ravi stayed by her side, matching every gesture, pushing her gently, and encouraging her with his smile. The audience watched silently at first, then erupted into applause when the final note played. Meena's eyes were bright with joy, and she looked at Ravi. "We did it again," she said, her voice full of excitement. "Yes," Ravi replied softly. "And we always will, as long as we try together." After the performance, they returned to the garden. Meena leaned back in her wheelchair, tired but happy. "Ravi," she said thoughtfully, "I used to think I couldn't do many things. But now, I feel like I can do anything if I try." Ravi placed a gentle hand on hers. "That's because you believed in yourself. And you let someone believe in you too." Meena smiled. "I'm glad it was you." Ravi's heart swelled with emotion. He had never imagined that a little girl in a wheelchair could change his life so completely. She had taught him about patience, hope, joy, and friendship, things no amount of money or success could ever give. That evening, Ravi returned to his apartment, but it no longer felt empty. The memories of Meena's laughter, her ribbon dancing, and their shared smiles filled the space with warmth. He realized that life was no longer about solitude or endless work, it was about moments, kindness, and the bonds we build with others. He looked at the city lights from his window, thinking of Meena in the garden, twirling her ribbon, fearless and joyful. He whispered softly, "Thank you, Meena, for teaching me to dance, not just with my feet, but with my heart." The next morning, Ravi arrived at the hospital as usual. Meena was waiting, bright-eyed and smiling. She held her ribbon proudly. "Good morning, teacher," she said, giggling. "Good morning, student," Ravi replied, bowing slightly with a playful smile. They laughed together, ready to start a new dance, a new day, and a new adventure. The garden was their world, and every movement of the ribbon was a symbol of friendship, courage, and hope. And as the music began, Ravi realized that happiness had finally found its place, not in offices, not in money, but in a little girl's smile, in a shared dance, and in a heart that had learned to believe again. Together, they danced, and the world outside seemed a little brighter.